Hi, welcome back. This week I interview Benjamin Davis, Senior VP of Mission at the MS Society Canada. Now let's get to the video. Okay, just to get started, what is your job title and what exactly does your job involve at the MS Society?
Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to chatting. So my job title is Senior Vice President of Mission. And as I tell my children, that does not mean, going to the moon when they hear the term mission.
Yeah.
Like today, Captain Kirk just went to the moon.
Yes, that's true.
uh, but in the context of my work, mission refers to our work relating to advocacy, programs, and research. So my role is to bring together those areas in an integrated way to really make a difference and add value for the people living with MS and our desire to understand better the disease and eventually end it. So research, advocacy, and programs are so integrated anyway in terms of how we interact with volunteers, how we understand the importance of ensuring that the needs and the perspectives of people with MS are at the center of decision making around research investments, around program design, around advocacy and policy decisions. That it's a thrill to work in this role. It's really interesting and important work.
Okay. What would you say, although I guess how long have you worked for the MS Society? That'll kind of play into my next question.
Yeah, no, good question. So I've worked for the MS Society. I've worked for 6 years, so I guess I'm moving into my 7th year.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
pressing towards my 7th year, I should say.
Okay. And what would you say that you've learned about MS since starting with the MS Society? Things that you didn't know prior.
Candace, I love that question. A ton. Like I won't even be able to articulate well for you how much I've learned since joining the organization, but let me try. So when I first joined the organization in 2015, I joined as a division president in the Atlantic region and had certainly some familiarity with MS in terms of people I knew and people, in my circles, if you will. But I knew it from a very surface level. Like I knew some of the disability components of multiple sclerosis. But as I got into the role and got to meet more people living with MS, one of the first things that struck me is just how diverse the disease can be, right? And I know you know this. I know we've talked about this before.
Yes, I believe we have.
That there's no two cases of MS are the same. Right. So within that, it just compounds itself in terms of the learning that I've had around what does progression mean? What is this? I don't have a science background, and so I've learned a lot about the science of the disease. I've learned a lot about the treatment options and the mechanisms of MS and the mechanisms of those treatments. I've learned about how, decisions around policies matter for people with MS, because of the complexities of the disease. For some, it's an invisible disease, as we know, the episodic nature of it, learn it. So surprised that employers don't know much about it, and so the tools that they need to make better decisions for the people who work for them are required. I've learned that the talking points, of course, stand out for me, and they're meaningful. Where women are impacted 3 times more than men. I didn't realize how much of a young person's disease it was. The notion that MS really strikes you in your prime. When you're on career paths or family paths and all those things, right? All that certainly has stood out for me as well. So a long answer to your short question.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, edit this down a bit to get something that's coherent. It's been incredible how much that one can learn through the course of working for this organization and working with the MS community. Right. And another thing I would add is that an observation, I guess, in a short period of time has been twofold. One, the number of options for people to, combat their disease, be it treatments, which I'm not just talking about disease modifying therapies, but that's part of it. There's certainly more available than there have been over 5 years, certainly over the last 20 or 30.
Yep.
Progressive MS now has some treatment options, which is, it was just coming online as I started. But also the growth in the research community in terms of just how many people around the world are investing more and more time and energy and resources into better understanding and one day halting disease has been quite eye-opening as well.
Right. And I definitely agree with that. Like the number of disease modifying therapies there is now. Like I was diagnosed almost 15 years ago, and I think there was I was given 2 options for what I could go on.
Yeah.
Because that's what there was.
Yeah.
And now there's so many more that are definitely, I guess, more hopeful in their treatments, that they can do more. So I know that when I moved from the first medication I was on, I was sure glad not to have to give myself self injections 3 times a week. So it's gone from that I don't even know if people who are just diagnosed with MS would even be offered that anymore. Honestly, don't know.
Right.
But I would think they wouldn't have to be, personally, based on research that I know about.
Yeah. The trajectory of MS is changing, right? I think
Yes.
we'll say that pretty reasonably because of better understanding of treatment options, but also what does diet mean, exercise, wellness, risk factors,
right?
All of that understanding is certainly allowing, as I see it, people to manage their disease in a different way, right? And we're even talking to a degree about prevention, right?
Right.
And thinking about
exactly.
MS prodrome. I don't know if you or your viewers have heard of that term. That's something I've learned recently. This idea, the prodrome is this period of time before your classical onset of disease itself. And so what are the indicators that appear that may lead one to make an earlier diagnosis before all the symptoms present themselves, and further, upstream prevent disease onset.
Exactly.
Right? And so that is an entire area of MS research that is on the up and up, and will lead to certainly some very exciting and meaningful.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I find it positive as well with the research. When I was diagnosed, although some people's trajectory does end up like this, but I was basically told within 10 years, you'll be in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm almost 15 years in and I haven't been in a wheelchair yet. Unfortunately, some people's trajectory goes like that because their disease progression is more severe. But when you hear that at 22, in 10 years, you're just whoa. Because you don't really like yourself prior to being diagnosed. I knew a family member who had it, but honestly, I didn't really know much about it. So you go in, you're first appointment with neurologist. Well, this is your projection. So if it wasn't scary enough to be hi, you have MS. Now it's, you might be in a wheelchair in this amount of time. And I was just whoa. Luckily that didn't happen to me. And I feel the same thing. They wouldn't tell that to someone now. There's been so many progressions in research and medications that I don't think that would be commonplace for them to say that anymore. Just also from knowing various people diagnosed within the last several years. So
yeah, and to build on that relative to diagnosis, I think that is also something that's improving in the community, right? In terms of earlier access to better diagnostic tools, so clinicians can make better decisions. All the use of AI and other technologies is really helping that adding hope, I should say, really. And earlier diagnosis, I think, is a great endpoint.
Yeah. And I know from knowing you, I guess on a personal level, I met you shortly after you started at the MS Society Atlantic. I know that, I don't know how long you've been doing it. You participate in the MS Bike. How long have you been doing that for?
Oh, thank you. I guess that's, I was actually looking at my MS Bike jerseys the other day because I received one in the mail for the virtual fundraising. I just last ride, if you will. Well, gosh, I think I've been doing it since 2016, really. I arrived in 2015 and I I don't think I did the ride because I
Okay.
arrived in July. Like my first day on the job was July.
Right.
So I remember showing up to the event, speaking at the event, but not
Yeah.
riding. But then I've been riding and fundraising ever
Well,
since.
that's great.
And, you know, that's, I suppose, to your first question, or one of the learnings, that's been another one for me, is just how engaged the MS community is.
Mhm.
And, you know, the fact that as an organization, the lion's share of our resources come from what we call grassroots,
Mhm.
events-based, peer-to-peer fundraising, right?
Yeah.
And and therefore our ability to raise important resources and then turn around and point that into research and programs and advocacy is important. But the fundraising events, you know, the bikes and MS walks
Mhm.
and other things that are happening, and the pandemic has certainly, you know,
Yeah.
forced us, it sounds like a negative term, but, you know, has, you know, ensured that we've had to think of out of the box, be more
Mhm.
innovative in terms of other fundraising means, has really been just really, you know, positive experience. And so the MS bike for me is important because it's empowering, right?
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, you see people who are making rides for their first time,
Mhm.
you know, really challenging themselves or riding in honor of people who are
Mhm.
close to them. You know, it's very emotional time, very inspiring
Yeah.
time. And you see some people doing just some incredible fundraising,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and so yeah, the MS Bike is a wonderful event, and as the pandemic hopefully unwinds and there's more
Mhm.
light in the tunnel, the idea of bringing people in person,
Mhm.
hopefully next season, knock on wood, you
Yeah.
know, be even an added wonderful added experience to the event.
Yeah. And kind of building on that, you kind of mentioned on some things regarding the pandemic. How has the pandemic affected the MS Society in whole, if you can answer that?
Well, I'm happy to answer that. Absolutely. So, you know, the fact that we are an organization like other health charities
Mhm.
that, you know, relies on grassroots fundraising, when, you know, the pandemic arrived and all of a sudden we are unable to bring people together to raise funds, it was devastating, right? Because, you know, where we would raise, you know, say as an organization, round numbers, we raise, you know, say $50 million across the country. Now we're thinking we might only have 20,
Mhm.
right? So what does that mean for the people we're here to support first and
Right.
foremost, right? And so we had to, and we've all heard this term too much now, but we had to pivot quickly
Mhm.
as an organization. I'm proud to say that at no time did we ever lose focus on why we exist, right?
Mhm.
Why we exist as a community. It's like, how can we continue to reach people and add value and provide support? So things like our knowledge network, which
Mhm.
viewers may know is a program, it's a service, if you will. There's I think now we have 8 or 9 navigators across the
Mhm.
country who, through phone or chat or email, interact with people, especially those who are newly diagnosed, but anyone, caregivers, people of, you know, just concerned about their disease or their disease of a loved one,
Mhm.
are there for them to answer their questions and help them navigate the system. So things like that, our education programs, you know, going virtual wherever we could, trying to ensure that those who are already feeling isolation, like I think about
Mhm.
people in long-term care in
Yeah.
particular, you know, it's just it was devastating.
Yeah.
So long answer to your question, but so we had to pivot. So we
Mhm.
had to make very difficult decisions as an
Mhm.
organization, as you can
Mhm.
imagine, in terms of our people and our structure and
Mhm.
where we're going to put you know, our focus and our priorities. But as I sit here today, you know, we certainly went through difficult times, but there is light at the end of the tunnel,
Mhm.
and you know, our focus hasn't changed. We are, you know, the pedal still to the floor,
Mhm.
still investing in research. We're still delivering programs. We're
Mhm.
still driving advocacy. You know, we had just had a research competition announced of an investment would be around $5 million,
Mhm.
right? Incredible, right? That's
Yeah.
engaging researchers and trainees,
Mhm.
and continuing that momentum in research, because that's one of the concerns you think about, is that, and it comes back to the conversation we had earlier about momentum and about
Mhm.
research community and engagement. We didn't want that to slow down,
Mhm.
right? So luckily we were well positioned after making difficult decisions
Mhm,
to be able to focus on what matters most. And that was investing in research, investing in
mhm,
programs, and advocating for people.
mhm. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people who have MS that I know in the community, that was a big concern at one point in time, that all the money that they helped raise and things like that was going to research. And they weren't seeing a lot of it coming back to the people they felt needed it, the people with MS. So I was actually happy to receive a document in my email today about the quality of life program. I did know about it before
Good.
this being released, but I can guarantee there's going to be a lot of people happy about that, that they don't have another way to afford certain things, whether it's um, medical aids or even like an air condition for heat intolerance. So I think a lot of people, including myself, are really happy because I know that was kind of put on hold
Yeah.
in the midst of lockdown, COVID, prime COVID time. So that's definitely a positive. And I think that's good because I think a lot of people in that point in time had lost hope in the MS Society because they were thinking, what can they do for me? They're
Yeah.
not actually doing anything for me. So I think that a lot of support was lost for the MS Society at one point in time. And I think that it's finally coming back
Yeah.
because people are having a hard time. Like you're stuck in your house when you don't have a lot of communication with people anyway. And so there was one more thing that they couldn't get or something they couldn't afford. So I think that will be a positive when everyone sees this, although I've been telling people about it that they could apply for this, but it's not as substantial as like the Canada-wide email to everyone who's signed up for that. So that's definitely a positive. So
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, and
yeah,
I'm really glad to hear that. And yeah, it's uh, upon reflection, it's been such a difficult time,
right.
and I can completely understand why
Yeah.
some would be frustrated, right?
Hmm.
The everything grinded to a halt, right?
Yeah.
But as I said before, our focus didn't stop, right? And
Hmm.
so having to reimagine how you can continue to add value, and
Right.
something like the equipment program was a good one to pull out as an example, because
Yeah.
uh, in thinking about how we can make a difference and scale right across the country,
Hmm.
the equipment program is one that we took the time to redesign it so it can be consistently applied
Right.
country, so more people can access it and get more support.
Yeah.
And we know that, and you've heard me talk about this before around the importance of income support.
Hmm.
And that's just one example where
Yeah.
we can add value, and we're constantly looking for more ways to do it.
Yeah.
The part of our design of our organization, the mission within the mission portfolio, there's an element of program design, and that is that the intent. One of the intents behind that is to ensure that whatever we're offering as an organization truly adds value,
Mhm.
as to the highest standard possible, and that can be consistently and equitably accessed across the country.
Mhm.
And I think that's important, and I like to think that the equipment program is a good example of that. But people need touch points and support and
Yeah.
feel connected, right? And so
Yeah.
that we are unable to, as a community, as an organization, if you will, to make a difference without the support and partnership of volunteers, right?
Hmm.
And that's part of being a grassroots
Yeah.
organization. That volunteers are truly the lifeblood. And I know that sounds like a talking point, but it's sincere. It's
Hmm.
true. So that feedback loop of what's landing and what's not,
Yeah.
and what's not landing in
Yeah.
communities, right,
Yeah.
is important for us to understand, because it's okay for people to get frustrated.
Hmm.
It's completely understandable,
Hmm.
but I hope that they also see that they can play a role in providing feedback and engaging
Hmm.
and helping things get better, right?
Yeah.
To so we can continue to make a difference.
Yeah. And I think it was a good thing that came up with the just go back to the quality of life grant. It
Mm.
seems like it's more the same, like everyone's entitled to the same amount across the country. Am I true? Is that
That's
true? Did I
correct.
did I understand that correctly? Okay, so I think people are more of a fan like that, although I can understand to some point why differences across the country, because cost of living is different other places, but
Yeah,
I think that it should be the same.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that's
So
just me.
no, and we're in agreement, right? And
Yeah.
there were, and I would say both in terms of looking backwards, but
Yeah.
when the way the program used to be
Yeah.
was in part a reflection of how our organization was designed. It
Right.
was more like a federated model, so like regions kind of came up with their own
Yes.
programs, and
Yeah.
yeah, that had some value to it, but also in many ways wasn't equitable, wasn't
Right.
consistent.
Yeah.
And so this quality of life program not only has levels off the amounts. So being biased, but I know you and I are here in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah.
There was an improvement for us in Atlantic
Yes.
Canada,
Yes.
right? So it does that, but it also enabled provinces or territories that didn't even have access to it
Yes.
before. Now they have access to something.
Yes.
So if people look at it that way, in particular, that to me, I feel good about that.
Right.
That's a helpful thing for Canadians, right?
Right. Exactly. 100%. Is there any upcoming projects or events with the Emma Society coming up in future
Oh
months?
my, yes. Well, there's a number of things, and forgive me, I don't have all. I would encourage your viewers to go to our website.
Okay.
That is absolutely our best
Okay.
source of information, and maybe you can include that in your show notes
Yep.
or what have you. But I think about things like our WAMS program, Women Against MS. I think about
Mhm.
Savor. I think about, which is a culinary experience.
Mhm.
Those are some things that are happening. I think about the all the pieces that we have around our work in the research enterprise and our programs that are continuing to come out, and our advocacy work.
Mhm.
That there's never a dull moment in terms
Right.
of that we're moving forward. So
Okay.
so our website is really good for all the
Okay.
latest dates and things.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
think that whether you are no matter where you are or how you're engaged with the MS community, there is a place for you in the MS Society,
Mhm.
right? Through event participation or volunteering for
Mhm.
some initiative or engaging others to bring them together to learn more about MS. There's all kinds of different ways for people to get involved.
Anything further you want to add
Oh,
that you
well,
could just think of about anything? It's fine.
no, I think that,
Okay.
I really appreciate the work that you're doing. I think
Thank you.
messages like this and the people
Yeah.
you're meeting with, it all helps, right? Because I want to leave your viewers with the idea that there is lots of hope. There,
Mhm.
although we've been through difficult times
Yeah.
as a world,
Mhm.
there is much to look forward to, and I think we're always collectively better together. And I just encourage those who listen to this to reach out if they have any questions, concerns, needs. We're here for you, and we're really just optimistic and excited about what the future holds.
Okay. That is great. Thank you very much. Hi, thanks so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe.